Hello! We have 4 stories today that remind me of my weekly trips to the craft store. My favorite place to go is the scraps bin because you find all kinds of little bits and bobs. Much like this week's visit to AITA, where I dove deep into the bin to find the oddest and funniest of the bunch. Our first story comes with the thread of a cautionary tale where perhaps your teachable moment shouldn't be bought in bulk. It might be petty, and it might be fun. But can it go too far when you supersize it? Story 1. I have 2 of my children living with me. One has graduated from college, and the other is a junior. I have to purchase medicated shampoo because of a scalp condition. It is by prescription, and it is expensive. It also comes in packaging that is meant to be stored upright, not on its side, and definitely not upside down. My daughter has her hair products in the shower, and I do not touch them. My son also keeps his Axe body wash, shampoo, conditioner, woman repellent in the shower. I also do not touch it since I have zero desire to smell like a high school locker room. I keep my shampoo in there as well since it is my house and I can keep my junk wherever I want. For some reason, the 2 of them cannot understand that not all packaging is meant to be upside down. They have already wasted an entire bottle of my shampoo by storing it upside down after they touched it for some reason. It all dripped out the spout, which is not engineered for that. I talked to both of them and explained that they should not touch my stuff and that if they accidentally tip over my shampoo, it was meant to be stored with the lid at the top. I came home last week to find my shampoo leaking out of the bottle again, upside down. I ordered 500 stickers that say this side up, with an arrow pointing upwards when the words are upright, and I put them on everything in the house that might leak, with my shampoo being literally covered in them. They had friends over last weekend and they noticed that the relish, ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, etc. were all labeled. My kids were embarrassed when they explained why. They think I am a jerk for putting labels on everything since they only mess with my shampoo. Since it is $80 a bottle, I said I would take off all the labels if they agree to pay for my shampoo. Thus far, they have declined. In the comments, International Set said, "Not the jerk. My kids are the same way. Your kids can either learn to leave your stuff alone, put it back the way it was, pay for your medication, or deal with the labels." There are several reasonable choices there. Correct No said, "I think not the jerk. They're both too old to be doing stuff like that, honestly. That's the sort of disregard I would show for my parents' stuff when I was like 13 maybe. Your measures were extreme, but if the embarrassment is enough to make them change their ways, I say fair game." Where's the Revolt said, "Not the jerk, but it does sound like you're at the 'how can I love you if you won't go away' stage of your relationship with your kids." Am I the only one losing it a bit with all these stickers being applied to everything? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love stickers, but the glue that'll be left behind when she peels them all off, oh my gosh. I hope she has a big bottle of Goo Gone. Aside from that, definitely not the jerk. How difficult is it to make sure that you're not dumping out liquid gold? My goodness, $80 a bottle? Eek! This is similar to leaving on all the lights in the house. Sometimes it takes paying a bill to pay a little more attention. Our second story is a little older, but it's one of those stories that everyone should hear at least once. I'm sure most of us remember how everyone and everything got a bit crazy in 2020, especially when it came to groceries. You couldn't get your hands on a roll of 2-ply to save your life, and people were hoarding them like a figurative golden goose. While I'm sure many people out there looked on with disbelief, I bet nobody expected anyone's life to start turning into a fairy tale. Story 2. With all that is going on, we have stocked up on supplies, including some canned goods. I ordered a few weeks ago 30 cans of beans. 10 are black beans, 10 are kidney beans, and 10 are pink beans. Also, I ordered 15 cans of chickpeas. I thought this is a reasonable amount of beans and chickpeas to have every now and then and would last for quite some time. However, last night I opened the cabinet because I wanted to make a vegetarian chili using 2 cans of beans. But all the beans were gone. What the fork? I asked my girlfriend and she told me she buried all of the beans in the woods. At first, I thought she was joking, but she explained, no, she had buried the beans in the woods. WTF? I asked her to explain and she told me she was afraid that if things get bad, we might have to worry about looters or whatever. and that the beans would be in danger of being stolen. I said I thought this was completely ridiculous and unlikely. She became angry at me and said she is protecting our beans. According to her logic, the beans are safely buried in the woods behind our apartment complex. If we ever need some beans, she will go to the stash and dig up a can or two, but would prefer if we save them all for if things get worse. I said, why only bury the beans? Why not bury our more valuable items? She said the canned food was most valuable for long-term means. Since we get fresh food in our online grocery deliveries, it would make sense to continue to stockpile beans. She intends to go bury more beans in the woods every week. This was too insane for me, and I got very upset. I demanded to know where the beans were buried, and she refused to tell me. She said if I knew, she was afraid I'd dig them up. I said bloody right I would. She said, I will never jeopardize the beans. I crossed the line and said she was out of her mind. She stormed away. We have not talked since last night. I think it is completely ridiculous to bury the beans in the woods, and I want to find them and dig them up. But apparently my girlfriend is taking this very seriously. How can I convince her to tell me where the beans are? And do you think I should convince her to get therapy or something? Or should I break up with her? So confused. Is this normal for a girlfriend to bury beans or otherwise hide them? Update, 2 days later. The following day, I tried to put my foot down. I'm not usually a foot downer, but there are rare issues where compromise is out of the question. And I foolishly decided this was one of those issues. I demanded to know where the beans were buried, and I told her if she was going to bury beans I paid for in the woods, that I would move out. We fought about it, and I kept insisting. In hindsight, I should have just let it go and created my own hidden stash of beans in the apartment, and given her time to maybe cool down about this bean burying scenario, but I blew it all out of proportion. Yeah, it's weird to bury beans in the woods, but why did I have to press it? What's the harm at the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things? But I kept demanding her to take me to the beans, or at least draw a map or something, and finally, she broke up with me over the beans. I have lost the love of my life because I couldn't let the doggone beans go. I am in disbelief. She moved out. Not only am I heartbroken, but I am now paying full rent instead of 50%, which is a huge financial issue for me. In the comments, someone said, on the plus side, some kid named Jack is going to totally clean up. ThinkSpacer said, on the one hand, that is completely bonkers. On the other hand, April 2020 was a bonkers time. I wonder if he ever found his beans. Sad Leopards added, I think a lot of people stockpiled canned goods at that point, and toilet paper. I can't say I know anyone that buried it, though. Rorschach Roadkill said, when your kids ask you what 2020 was like, show them this. The Stank Police added, this is one of my favorite Reddit moments. My wife and I reference jeopardize the beans all the time. I Suggest Therapy added, definitely funnier than Iranian yogurt. Agreeable Rabbit said, not only did the girlfriend bury the beans, she broke up with OP over them. Classic. Recipe number 101 added, they weren't even her beans. She's a bean thief. Let her buy and bury her own beans. If a beanstalk had sprouted from magical beans, then OP would have definitely had to eat crow. However, such amazingness only occurs in the magical world that is my imagination. OP is not the jerk. When you're walking into grocery stores with empty shelves, you want to know that your partner has your back, and that if push came to shove, it's the two of you sticking it out. Did he push it a bit far? Maybe. But they were stressful times, and ultimately, she should have spilled the beans and given up the location of their supply. Our third story continues with the odd and asks, is it ever all right for a spouse to talk to their partner like a child? I bet you're shaking your head and saying no, of course not. How demeaning and inappropriate. How rude. Well, this next story looks to prove us all wrong, with a woman who just can't keep her hands to herself, and a man who loses his cool. Story 3. I'm a 26-year-old male, and my sister is 23. She runs a bakery business, and she's been struggling lately to keep up with orders because she's been short-staffed. She does a lot of orders for wedding cakes. The cakes require custard or marmalade fillings, and I offered to help her out by making these fillings at home and bringing them to her so she has less work to do. Unfortunately, the past 4 times I've made these fillings, my girlfriend, 24, has literally dipped her fingers into the filling jars and contaminated them. She did this because, in her words, she just wanted to try some. I've tried explaining to her that she can't dip her fingers in and contaminate the entire batch, because then I have to remake it. I said she should use a spoon and take some out if she wants to try it so bad. But she just pouts and says that she likes using her fingers because it takes her back to her childhood. Today, I was trying to finish some chocolate custard to send it over to my sister really fast because she was running late on a wedding cake order for an important client. I told my girlfriend beforehand to not eat the custard, and if she really wanted to please use a spoon. I get out of the shower, and what do I see? She has her fingers in it again. I totally lost it because this is the 5th time she blatantly disregarded what I said. I yelled at her to stop effing eating the food I'm making because it's not for her and she's contaminating it. She started crying and got mad at me for fat shaming her, even though I made no comment on her weight and she has no history of weight issues or eating disorders. I know I was harsh, but she kept pushing my limits. Am I the jerk? Harmonia said, does she also wear a diaper and draw on the walls with crayons because it reminds her of her childhood? Not the jerk. Journey into Pressure said, not the jerk. At this point, she is doing it on purpose. In front of you or right when you are ready to catch her? Yeah, she is purposefully ruining things for some reason. Break up with her. This person is sabotaging and wasting your time, but worse, she is sabotaging your sister. Armchair said, not the jerk. Start dipping your fingers in all of her makeup and smearing it everywhere. And when she complains, tell her it takes you back to finger painting as a child. That last comment is my fave. Can you imagine? Not the jerk. I'd be livid. I mean, how many different ways can you say please stop? Super passive aggressive, but I think he should start talking about her out loud, and when she loses it and asks what he's doing and who he's talking to, he can say, oh, I wasn't talking to you. I was just talking to Jessica, my imaginary friend from childhood. She just gets me, you know? Our 4th story is short. Okay, it's very short. So short, I really thought hard about even including it, but it was so odd, so mind-boggling. I mean, how could I not include it in with my bin of bits and bobs collection? The story was quickly locked down by the mods for people taking a bit too many liberties in trying to guess motivations. But one thing is for sure, when a story gets locked down, my curiosity gets piqued, and this next story, despite its length, did not disappoint with the wildest of takes. Story 4. My husband and I have a 7-year-old daughter together, Layla. A few months ago, Layla got a boyfriend, Lucas. They are both 7, so it's obviously not a real relationship. They just hold hands and they drew each other hearts for Valentine's Day. This week, Layla was apparently holding hands with another boy who also sent Layla a Valentine's Day love letter, and Lucas took offense to it. We found out because Lucas's parents called to tell us Lucas won't be coming over to us this Saturday like it was originally planned, because he is mad at Layla. My husband wants us to punish Layla and wants me to have a talk with her about faithfulness. At first I thought he was joking, but no, he was serious. He says that Layla cheated on Lucas, and I, as her mother, should do something about it. I told my husband that Layla is 7, not a cheater, and I won't treat her as such. He then accused me of raising a cheater and encouraging the bad behavior. Am I the jerk for not wanting to punish Layla? In the comments, Grand45 said, she's 7. It's ridiculous to call her a cheater. At the same time, you can sit her down and explain why Lucas is upset and doesn't want to see her. That's more than enough of a lesson. Not the jerk. Headmaster Doge said, not the jerk. Play relationships? At 7, I was trying to be a Power Ranger. But yeah, they are just kids. They don't even know what it all means and most likely forget about it the next week. Local Calzone Zone said, everyone sucks here. These kids are 7 years old. She doesn't have a boyfriend, she has a friend. 7-year-old friends hold hands. You, your husband, and Lucas's parents need to stop being creepy and let your kids be kids. Ooh, this brings me back.
After 10,000 years, I'm free! It's time to conquer Earth!
Alpha, lead us escape.
Recruit a team of teenagers with attitude. Whoops-a-doodle. Right, a verdict. Not the jerk. Pretty sure best friends change like the weather when you're 7. Come to think of it, I'm pretty sure I thought all boys had cooties at that age, 'cause that was a thing. Anywho, like I said, a bit of an odd one. Let me know what you think on this one. I'm super curious. And that's it for today. Until next time, shine bright, Starlight. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.